and they had their contractor with them. So the lady says, the woman, she's a young woman, she says to me, "This is what we're looking to do," and then she says, "This is what we bought," and she takes out these photographs. And I'm going, so man, this looks familiar. I'm trying to, but I'm not thinking. I'm thinking, what she wants. The contractor's like, "Well, this is what we want to do. This is how." So there's one picture where she took the thing on the Brooklyn Bridge, and I said to her, "Wait a minute. Is this how? Is this it? This law? Is this down on Columbia Street? It's facing the Transit Authority substation." She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Is this the third floor?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "I lived there." She goes, "When?" I said, "In 1975, 76." She says, "You kidding?" I said, "Yeah, we lived there when it wasn't nice to live there." She goes, "Oh," I said, "Oh, I know it's different. It's Dumbo.
Right.
The Manhattan Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge. So, but
That's a fun story.
Yeah, but it's changed. New York has changed. It's not the same. I think it's not neighborhood.
Right.
I lived in Park Slope, the brownstone capital of the world. It used to be, but it was a neighborhood. There was diversity there.
Right.
People used to say, "Where do you live?" I say, "Park Slope." They, "Oh, you mean you live in Park Slum?" Slum? What are you talking about?
Right.
And I'd be like, "No, man. We had Irish, Italian, Puerto Rican, Black. We had everything. It wasn't.
Yeah.
We had the
to grow up in areas like that because you experience so much more than just having,
I dated a Puerto Rican. I dated a Puerto Rican girl that lived on Fifth Street, down below below Fourth Avenue. I go there, and her brothers weren't there. And then one day, her brothers showed up when I was there, and they chased me up the block. I got past Fourth Avenue. I got past Fifth Avenue, and they weren't allowed to come across Fifth Avenue back in the day. These Puerto Ricans took this side, the Italians took that side.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was crazy time in Brooklyn.
Wow. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go get a couple cough drops.
Sure.
Just to be on the safe side.
Sure. That's my phone, babe. Oh, all right. I have her in there.
Yeah. And if I just want to talk to her, just press the middle button?
No. When you want to talk to her, you hit that.
Yeah.
You want to call her now?
Yeah.
Now? And here you go. Just talk. Shut the Well, that's my flip phone. Nobody, for some unexplained reason, nobody knows how to use it. And why? It's just a flip phone. But anyway, the finish of that story was years later. I was working on the transit, and I was working on the work train. I was working with this guy, Ronnie Lopez. I didn't know his last name was Lopez. I knew Ronnie. He says, "I know you from someplace." I said, "Where you from?" He goes, "Brooklyn." I said, "Wow, we're all from Brooklyn. Where?" He goes, "Park Slope." I said, "Yeah, I was born and raised there." I said, "Where'd you live?" He goes, "Fifth Street." I said, "What address?" He tells me. I said, I dated a girl there. He goes, "What was her name?" I said, "Camilla." He goes, "That's my sister. That's how I know you." I said, "You chased me." He said, "You should have married my sister." I said, "Why?" He says, "She's married to this lowlife."
You shouldn't have chased me.
Well, thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yeah.
Thank God for unanswered prayers. Because I met my wife in the library. My wife was.
Yeah, I'm a young man. I'm a young man still, and I have a few of those. So.
this. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble?
I'm live. We run a crackerjack operation over here. Oh, we don't have an end play on it. Well, hey, anyway, welcome to Model Railroading Live. Who's Big Bill talking to on the Model Railroading channel, the #1 channel in the world, broadcasting you live from the greatest city in the world, New York, Staten Island to be exact. Today is July 8th, 2020. It's 9:01 p.m. And Who's Big Bill talking to? We'll be introducing in a moment one of the most prestigious and premier modelers on the West Coast. He's like, you drop his name and everybody stops and they want to know what he's doing. And we'll get to him in a minute. First, a few pointers, a few things that we need to roll out to you. If you guys have been watching our Railroad Empire, how we are building them is going in this 10-part series. I think we're up to our episode 6 or 7, but they'll be on this Saturday and July 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they're going to be doing thing on scenery terrain, using plaster, cloth, styrene, whatever. They're going to be talking about that. And that's going to be the Fab Four of Robert, Andy, Tim, and Lloyd. They're going to be combining their experiences together, and they're going to be showing, again, another great topic on how they build their railroad empire, how we are building them. And then because it's the summertime and everybody wants to be out smoking their brisket and barbecuing, John will be here. Johnny's Train Talk Show will be again on the 16th of July, and he'll be on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, for you guys who are tuning in who haven't been here before, let me explain to you that Johnny's Train Talk Show is similar to what we're doing right now. And you guys can be a part of it. If you have a great internet and a web camera or GoPro, whatever you can do to get online, you can be a part of that Johnny's Train Talk Show, and you can do the bring and brag kind of thing, show off some stuff. And if you're having a little something going on in your layout, your railroad, electronically, whatever, you want to talk about operations, you want to show off a car, whatever it is, that's the place to do it. So you grab yourself a, mosey on to Johnny's General Store down there by the corner of Relaxed and Model Railroading. Pull up a chair, pull a soda pop out of the ice box, and have fun at Johnny's Train Talk Show, which will be on July 16th, 2020 at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All the shows on Model Railroading Live are 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest, the one, the only, Sean Croteau. Is that correct, Sean?
Croteau.
Croteau. I'm sorry. It's the
It's
Brooklyn.
okay. You can call me whatever. Hey, you. Hey,
Hey,
kid.
you.
John.
What's the face? What's up with you? How you doing? But Sean is an N-scale modeler. And we, as you guys can see, we're still in the vein of interviewing these young guys. We had John Arthur on, John Farrington, and look at this. We got Sean here, and Sean is an N-scaler. Sean, when was it that you got into, right off the bat, when was it that you got into model railroading?
Yeah, I got into model railroading with my dad when I was a sophomore, junior in high school. He is an architect and was kind of just wanting to get into a fun hobby that he and I could do together. And so we went to a model railroad show in Orlando where we were at the time. And and it hooked me immediately. And so we started an HO together, and then I eventually decided I want to go smaller. My eyes are still okay, so I got into N scale from that point, and been doing it ever since.
And when did you start to build on this layout?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So I started building this layout back in January of last year. But I started my channel in September of last year. So there was a big discrepancy. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you started January of 2020, January 2019,
2019. Yep.
right? And then in September you started doing a YouTube channel.
Correct.
Just so we got that.
Yeah. So the first update that I had done was essentially just like hey, here's everything that I've done up until this point. But I started on this particular layout January of last year.
Now, this isn't the first layout you've ever built.
Correct. So that's kind of a tricky thing. It's two parts. Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the layout that I had previously to this was just like a figure 8L, standard DC, and it was one of those things where I had the itch to just get trains running, and so I slapped some plywood down, 2x4s, had a little DC pack that I picked up at a train show for like $5. Threw the track on, glued it down, and started running trains. Always with the intent that I would build on it. But I didn't do the research as to how it should have been done, and how there are different ways to lay track with, cork versus foam, using different types of adhesives and glues. And so I just kind of like rushed to do something so that way I could get it going. And eventually it was just like, I'm not happy with this. And so in that process, my wife and I had moved from one house to the house that we're currently in, and it made the move with us. And it was a pain in the butt to take down and move with us. And I should have just scrapped it then, but I got it into my new office, and I was like, this is a little too big for me. So that was when I decided to scrap it completely and start on this. So yes, this is my second layout, but I would like to consider this my first layout in the sense that it's the first one that I've taken my time, I've learned, I'm still learning. I've done research and I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos and, MRVP and all that sort of stuff. And so now is a little bit, I'm happier with this.
So when you got started on this, let me see it. I might want to phrase the question correctly. What was the genesis of, before you started the other one, the previous one to this, what was the thinking like, hey, how did it spark your interest? Like, hey, I really want to get into model railroading. What was that moment that you said, was it that you couldn't buy the collector Lamborghini car and it was a little too much money and stuff like that? And you said,
yeah, it was, I think there was, I've always had an obsession with like miniature things. I growing up, my parents would buy me little Matchbox cars. I had a whole collection of those. And then, I don't know if you remember Micro Machines. I had a whole collection of those as well. And so just little things like that were something that always piqued my interest. And so when I was introduced to model railroading with my dad, there was just something about modeling and having something move through different scenes rather than just building an airplane and like tying some string to it and hanging it on your roof.
Your ceiling, right?
That there was an aspect of that was really what's the word I'm looking for? It grabbed my attention,
Right.
and so in deciding to build a layout, it was just like, okay, well, this is what everyone's doing, so I should just try it. And so I built that first one and got to a point where I was like, no, this is what people are doing, but I'm doing it wrong. So let's try and figure something else out. And so that's kind of the genesis to why I'm here doing what I'm doing.
And what was when at what point did you said the first one you said I was doing it wrong. Me personally, I don't really adhere to that kind of a philosophy. I think that anything you try, it's tried and true, and then you learn.
That's fair.
Albert Einstein said, "I may be the smartest man, but he says I look longer at the problem."
Right.
So,
yeah. I guess for me it was more. That's fair. That's a fair philosophy. I think for me, I guess it was more just like I'm not doing it the way that I want to eventually do it.
Okay.
So at that point, then it was like, let's figure something out. I went from DC, and with this one, I'm still learning how to operate on DCC and all the intricacies of that, and the F9 function, and like it's all above my brain capacity, but it's all a learning experience. And then for me also with the hobby, I think this is the only hobby that encompasses every other hobby. Like you have woodworking and there's electrical work and there's model building, and it just like all of those things. I'm not good at any of them. And so I've had to learn how to take this and this and this and piece it all together.
It's amazing, like when you go to the big box stores, the hardware, Home Depot or Lowe's, and you walk in and you and the wife are in there looking to buy patio furniture, and
right.
You go and check out, and she turns to you and says, "Is there a reason why we need that $325 chop saw?" And you're like, "And those 16 pieces of 1x3? Actually, there is, hon, and I'll explain it to you when we get home."
Right. Yep.
Yep, that's it. I know. And then all of a sudden you're spending your time at the tool section and you're like, I could use this.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I have some of the more expensive hobbies in the world.
Right.
I'm a musician by trade, and so that in itself, buying guitar, drums, and a pack of strings is $6 here and there, and those have to be changed out every month, and guitar pedals and speaker systems, and then I also transferred over to trains, and everybody knows the price range of that is. So
once we got the budget under control, then it was like,
yeah.
I know.
Sure.
I know.
For sure.
Now you're operating an N scale. What is the name of your N scale layout?
Yeah, it's called the Midland and Dorchester Railroad.
And is it based on any particular railroad that you grew up with, or that you would like to have,
Yeah. So the name of the railroad is actually based off of the two cities where my wife and I were born. It just seemed like that was a good idea to choose those two things and kind of mesh them together.
So let me see. So Midland, Texas, and Dorchester, Massachusetts.
Negative. Midland, Michigan. Close.
Okay.
Midland, Michigan, and my wife is from the UK, so Dorchester and Dorset, UK.
Oh, okay. So that's all right. Very nice.
Yeah. So the layout itself is based on the New York Central, Pennsylvania, Northeastern, rolling stock and locomotives and things of that nature. but it's not prototypical in any way. It's freelance for sure. Um, it and I've had a few people ask me like, "Oh, did you grow up in the Northeast?" I did not. I grew up in the Midwest, but I think the idea of trains running through big industrial buildings, like I've always been obsessed with the High Line when I became familiar with that, and just like street running and just the idea of trains operating in this concrete jungle was like, I was like, ooh, I want to do that.
Right,
It was
right.
actually part of my layout that I'm going to try and model after that. But I've always wanted to go to New York City, wanted to visit. And so there was an element of that kind of played into it as well. But I think what really was the crux of the decision was the second train show that my dad and I had gone to. I had seen a little N scale GP7, made by Atlas, and it was in New York Central, but the uh, the stripe lightning scheme was just like it hooked me immediately.
Right, right.
And so I was like, this is what I want to do. Um, nothing against other railroads and their color schemes and the way that they're designed.
Uh-huh.
There's something about the lightning stripe that was like, okay, I could get into it.
That was the one. That
Yeah.
was the one that sold you on it. I got you.
For sure.
Now the one that you have now, the layout that we're looking that's behind you, it's in a process of being built. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes. Still very much under construction.
Right. Do you devote a lot of time to it, or is it something that?
Probably a little too much time. I get texts from my wife all the time. She's like, "Hey, I'm here. Don't worry about me."
How does your wife? Oh, by the way, if your wife is listening, we here at Model Railroading Live would like to wish her a happy, blessed, belated birthday.
Yes.
To her. So,
I don't know if she's watching.
Okay, she can watch it on the rebound.
She might. Yeah.
Sparky 107 has a question. He goes, how big into trains was your dad? Any history or stories to share about your dad? Is your dad still involved in
He is, yeah. So he's still collecting items. They have recently moved in the last few years to a home. Now that my sister and I are out of the house, they have like this whole 3-bedroom home to themselves. I'm like, you need to take one of these rooms and turn it into something, But he is still into model railroading, still avidly collecting and learning and growing as well. But he does not have a layout. He's in the planning process, the planning stages of that. As far as like childhood memories, I don't really remember much of us being into trains together. I think it was both for the two of us. I mean, obviously I'm younger than he is, but for the two of us, I think it was kind of like a later in life, kind of like, oh, we can do this together. And so that just kind of
it's kind of like it's kind of like a mutual
yeah, absolutely.
You could butt heads and disagree on certain things, but then model railroading was the thing that brought you together.
Absolutely. And it very much is that way. We'll get in heated discussions on the phone, and it'll be awkward silence for a second, and I'll, so what train items are you collecting?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
With me and my old man, it was baseball.
Mm.
I was a hippie in the 60s, and it was like, he's telling me what, then we'd go, right? Baseball was the common denominator, and it kind of flatlined all the other stuff. So, no, I got what you're saying there.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant to do. It's a hobby that brings people together. It really is an enjoyment.
For sure. And it's been a cool relationship building thing for the two of us as well.
Good.
Just learning and growing and being able to share ideas, or he sends me suggestions, or even just like a couple of rocks that I was painting on my layout. And I called him and I was like, "Hey, you've seen this stuff before. Like, what colors did you use?" And he gave me suggestions. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
So now, how big is your layout? How big is the N scale layout?
Yeah, so it is 5 feet this way and 6 feet this way. And it is 12 inches deep. With the framing and everything, it's about 13.5 inches deep. But the actual layout itself is 12 inches deep. So the height of the way that it's designed, it's actually designed in like a C. So there's braces all along it, and there's I have two 1x2s on the front and the back end of it, kind of all holding it together. And the height of it is about 17 inches. I have about 13 inches on the inside and the interior portion that I'm able to model in.
Could you take the laptop and just scan? Would that be possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 2 seconds here.
Everybody take their Dramamine or whatever seasickness pills and
Seasickness pills. Yep, take them. So the way that I've designed it is I actually have two like staging cassettes on the end.
okay. Now that just as you're going along, that door, that closet, that's a closet.
Correct.
Okay, so you can lift that out if you need to get in there.
Correct. Yep. So it's actually tied together with I have two deadbolts on either side.
Okay.
And it just like lifts up, and I can store it. And then on the back end of the staging cassettes, it's actually I have like a hollow pocket to where it can sit right in two portable legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So sorry, trying to look at the camera at the same time.
I hear you. It's tough. It looks good.
Kind of where we're at. Yeah. It's coming along. It's a fun little process.
Now, Sean, just go back a little to the right and just down a little.
Down.
Is that going to be a dock scene?
Correct. Yep. So this whole little section, all the bare plywood that you see will be like a little harbor. At least that's the goal.
Now, on the fascia, on the board itself, there's those little buttons. Are those the switch buttons?
They are, yeah. So I've used the Barrett Hill toggle touch or touch toggle.
Nice. How do you like them?
I love them. The one thing that I wanted to do was to keep the fascia as clean as possible. So I don't plan on doing any sort of like track diagram or anything like that on the fascia itself when I get it installed. I mean, I didn't want a bunch of switches out,
Right.
if I bumped it or whatever. And so the touch toggles were the way to go for me. And once I learned how they all wired up, how to program them, all that sort of stuff, they're fantastic. I love them.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they expensive or?
It depends. So I'm going to say yes, only because they're not. I haven't seen them secondhand anywhere.
Right.
Whereas, like, you can go to model railroad shows or check Facebook groups or whatever, and people are always selling like touch or the double pull,
right.
and stuff, where you can collect a bunch of those and just unsolder the clipped wires from the back, and then you're good to go. The whole layout itself, I have 12 turnouts on it, and so I had to buy. There's two bases, two servo bases, and then all the toggles. And I want to say it was $120.
No, that's not bad.
So it's not terrible, but the simplicity of just being able to like touch it and then it turns the switch and then touch it back. And
so when it's in a normal position, it's green, and when it's in the reverse, it's red.
Correct.
That's pretty. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, and they sell a couple of different ones where there's like a they have the three colored where it's green, red, and yellow.
Oh,
So,
nice, nice. Now Sparky wants to know, you have is this a DCC system?
it is. Yep. So currently it's not hooked up, but I have an NCE power cab that I
Okay.
so it was one of those things where I didn't need a massive system, especially learning in DCC for the first time. So buying the NCE power cab was the way to go for me.
Freddie Model Railroad. He'd like to know what again were the name of those switch buttons?
They are the Barrett Hill touch toggles.
Yes, you can look at.
I think that I want to say the website is barretthillshop.com or
Right.
barretthilltrain.com, something of that nature.
Right. It's 9:26 p.m. We are talking with Sean Croteau.
Croteau.
I'm gonna get it, mate. Don't worry. Sean Croteau.
All right, don't worry about it though.
Midland. Hey, give me about 3 weeks. You know, I'll be in the supermarket with my wife, going, "That's it." So go what? Never mind. I understand. He's running an N scale. We have special guest Sean. He's running an N scale layout called the Midland in Dorchester. Midland and Dorchester, named after the city where he grew up in Midland, Michigan. Is that correct?
Correct.
His wife is from England, the UK, United Kingdom, in Dorchester, and so it's named after that. And we were just talking about his N scale layout behind us. It's gonna be a combination of industrial and seaside work. Is it going to be an industrial seaside or commercial fishing? And
I'm kind of going. I don't have any set decisions as to what it's going to look like. I'm kind of like picking and choosing as I go, which may not be the best decision.
oh no, I think that is.
But it's afforded me the freedom to be able to change my mind, and I don't get locked into anything.
Exactly.
I admire the guys in the hobby who like have the room and they like plan out everything and they know exactly which industry is going to go here and what building kit they're going to use to make that, or if they're going to scratch build, or like I admire that stuff. That's just not how my brain works.
Right, I got you.
So it's literally like I throw something up on the wall and I'm like, I don't like that. And then I take it down and then I wait 3 months and then I do it again,
Exactly.
So
Sparky 107 says that NCE Power Cab is a great starter set or set for small layouts, easy to use and easy on the wallet.
Absolutely. Yes. That was also another thing, was getting into DCC. I didn't want to break the bank on something that if I didn't like it, I would have a hard time reselling, or
Right.
I didn't want to throw all my chips in, at least
Right.
with NCE Power Cab, at 150, 180 bucks, whatever it is. You can get a booster pack and then you can upgrade, and as it expands, as the layout expands, I can
Right.
add more to it in terms of DCC. So yeah.
Exactly. Otis Tooley just wants to say hello from the town of Princeton, West Virginia, USA. Well, hello, Otis. Welcome to Who's Big Bill Talking To. If you have been just tuning in, we're talking to Sean. He has an N-scale layout called the Midland in Dorchester. And we're in the middle of talking to him. So welcome, Otis, welcome. And to everybody else who came on, Ralph Renzetti, Freddie Models came on, Sparky, Human City, Heath. You get a chance, go check out. You should check out Human City. Have you ever seen Human City Junction?
I have, yeah. I follow him.
He's good. I like him. He just did a video on a review of Digitrax's new controller and stuff. So welcome to all you guys out there. What is it that Sparky said? He said, I think that is the best way, talking about your previous comments about the idea of how you like, is to do a layout. You have an idea a direction, but everything is at the spur of the moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that I follow who are like every couple of weeks they have like so much done on their layout, and I feel like I'm just like I just like putzing around over here because I put something in place. I have a mock up or something, and I look at it for like 2 or 3 months, and I'm like I don't know if that's where it needs to go or if that's the kit I need to use. So
Just to make it, I want to follow up on what you just said, but you run Naked Force says that's his same approach that he's taken to with some of his marriages. Uh, let's see, any other questions? Yeah, that's a good comment you make, and just to address that for a minute, that's the problem with social media, and especially now in what we do, because we compare ourselves to what others are doing, and it's never gonna, when I first started my YouTube channel, which I don't diligently do enough of, it's called South Brooklyn Railroad, aka Catastrophe Railroad, meaning I always used to get amazed when I would watch guys' videos and their trains would run flawlessly,
uh-huh.
and they would just go, and I'd be like, how do they do that? How
What
do
am
they
I doing wrong?
right, exactly? And I'd beat myself up, and and then I realized the thing called editing, and now it is what it is, and I don't, I got out of that mode of thinking, and you come to my house, and we do an operation, and you got to push it with your finger a little bit, and if you get upset, well, then I'm not going to put any hot fudge on the ice cream after this operation. That's it. Skull, Scully Kill, excuse me, Scully River Valley. Sean, you mentioned the cassette system. Do you use multiple cassettes for staging, or is it just a removable for the access?
Yeah. So I have one on this end of the layout, and then I have one on this end of the layout. Currently, right now, I haven't devised any sort of operating system or operating scheme yet. So if anyone has any suggestions as to what their favorites are, feel free to leave those. But I have two staging cassettes, and the idea behind them was to have like some staging, but also have places for my trains to run on and off the layout.
Right. So
Because
they
right
just
now it's so small. Like if I'm running, a 10-car train or whatever, there's no place for it to go. I just like it has to end where it ends. And so that was the idea behind those, knowing that eventually I'm going to expand the layout. And so when it comes time to build a yard, those might go away. The staging cassettes might go away because the yard will then be in place. But as of right now, that just seemed like the logical, easiest solution for the problem that I was facing right at the current moment.
right. But I think that's a prelude to you getting into operations.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do, when I built the South Brooklyn Railroad, one of the things that the gentleman, Mr. Baronic, taught me was that you have to imagine that your layout is part of a national system, and that they're coming to your layout and your stage
Right.
that you have off to the side, and that it's going someplace. So you really are, it's a prelude to your operations, what you have in your mind down the road. Just
For
me
sure.
getting it, and stuff like that. What's his name says, Otis Tooley, he says, I have a Polar Express running in my living room. I'm thinking about buying a Great Northern number 160350. I have to order it. Going to change the name to Polar Express on the side of it and make the sign say that. Well, that sounds pretty good. Big Bill.
Sounds like a fun project.
Yeah, Schuylkill Valley is his name. I got you. Yes, I do apologize for the mashing of that name. Schuylkill. I had a brain fart there for a moment, Sean.
All good. Happens
Yeah.
to the best of us.
Yeah, John. No, because I wanted. No one can pronounce it. School. Here we go. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Now that I see you, I want you to Schuylkill Valley in his name. If you have a pen, excuse me, Sean. I don't mean to take away from your time. If you have a Schuylkill Valley Railroad, South Brooklyn, SOUTHBKLYN.com. No, at gmail.com. You could email me. I'd greatly appreciate it. I want to talk to you about a collaboration. Let's see. I'm trying to do some questions that we got there. Let me put this down. But in any case, you're like right there on the edge of, of getting, starting to do, excuse me, Sean, I'm sorry. There, I just put it down in the bottom, Skull Valley. It's in the prelude to doing operations. And I think, let's see, someone said they liked your, I think it was trying, these go by so fast.
Yeah. So while you're looking for that, Bill, that was one of the things, like with this particular layout, building the first one, it was literally just a figure 8. And so all I could do is really watch trains go by, and there's no really enjoyable. But I think with this one, I started to dive into the idea of operations, and like there was something that clicked in my brain. It was like, oh, like there's like a whole nother aspect of the hobby that I could tap into, that had I just kept running trains around in circles, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, we call that rail fanning.
For sure. And so, it was just another added layer of enjoyment in the hobby that I wanted to get into. So I'm still learning a lot, making mistakes and, trying things.
Sometimes the mistakes are the best thing because they work out better. You're like, wow.
That's true. That's true.
You want to see one of my? I'm not stealing your thunder here, but you want to see one of my biggest mistakes that turned out magnificent?
Let's do it.
See the bridge?
Uh-huh.
In the river? That was all done by mistake. That wasn't supposed to be that way. And it turned out beautiful. So it was like, because it wasn't designed to do that. That's not how I did it on the paper. And then when it came out the way it did, I was so disappointed. I remember going it was late at night, and my wife was up reading, and I took a shower, and I came in, and she's like, "What's the matter?" And I was like, "Nothing." And she goes, "What?" And I told her I told her, it's not the way I wanted. I wanted it to be more, elaborate with scenery and water, and it didn't come out right. She said, she walked in, and she's not a model railroader. She just walked in, and she was like, from the bedroom, she's like, "Are you out of your friggin' mind?" She says, "That's great."
Right.
And I was like, but then I realized afterwards, the water is actually under the center bridge because there's 3 bridges. So it's actually under where it's supposed to be. Had it left to my device, it would have been right or left.
Or the 2 outer ones and not the middle.
Exactly. So sometimes those mistakes are,
For sure. And here's the thing: the next one you build, you'll be able to learn off of that one. And
well, yeah, that's the process. It's like as you go along, you're like, this is such a great learning experience. And I think we talked about this the other night on Monday night. Like, It's like if you do something, has that happened? Have you done something where you're like, hey, that's pretty good, and then you see somebody that you watch on YouTube that you look up to, and they have done the same thing, but they've only done it after you, and you're like, wait a minute, I did that first. You know,
Right.
as juvenile as that sounds, that's how we get like woo woo.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but it's all, you know, that's the best thing. Fred Wild says, never admit to my mistakes, just make a story to fit the results. Yes,
Hey, that's good solution.
that is. I like those stories. Let's see. What do you... Oh, they would like they showing more layout to it. Looks like a second level, or is that just for lighting?
It is not a second level because of the way that it's designed in a C. So the bottom half is the layout itself, and I actually just have lighting up top. But I do have just a piece of like 1/8 inch plywood up top to almost act as like a dust collector up top,
Yeah.
so that way, you know, it doesn't settle on the layout.
Right, right.
So I would eventually like for it to be double deck. That would be rad.
That would be. Now that
But
would be something.
I got to finish this before I start other projects. Otherwise, the wife's going to kill me.
How does your wife like? I mean, does she participate, or is this just something, you know, like, oh, that's your hobby and great?
For sure, yeah. She's
Whatever.
full support of me doing it. I think she'd rather me spend my money on this than other things.
Plus, you're not at Clancy's bar on the last stool.
Correct. Yep, exactly. And so, but it's kind of my hobby. She doesn't really have any interest in it. I've tried getting her to go to train shows with me. She went one time and was like, "This is the worst."
Yeah.
Like, so it's nice because I have my thing. She has her thing. She does pottery and has a bunch of other creative things that, you know, she gets her, you know, excitement from. And so we each have our own things, but we're, you know, full support of each other doing what we're doing. So
That's cool. That's very good.
yeah.
Well, you are Naked Four says trains are a lot cheaper compared to musical instruments.
Yeah, some.
Oh, here's a good question from Sparky 107. He wants to know, how and why did you get started on YouTube doing videos? Any hints on what's coming up on your channel?
Yeah. So I wanted to start a channel that just kind of like followed the progress of what I was doing. More so actually for my benefit than anybody else. Just because it was one of those things where, like, rather than documenting everything via pictures, I wanted to have some like video evidence of stuff that I've done.
Sure.
And so, you know, so 5 years, 10 years from now, I can look back at it and be like, oh, I remember when I did this, or, you know, this is how I did that. And then, I mean, that's kind of where the idea for the channel started. But I actually started the channel. I had torn my ACL the beginning of last summer, playing soccer, and had surgery towards the end of last summer. And for 2 weeks, my wife was off work. Well, she was at home with me off work for a week, and then she was at home the second week, just kind of catering to me and making sure that everything was okay. I was taking my meds, but she was working, and so I had the idea like, oh, I should just start it now. I have nothing to do. I can't go anywhere. I can't drive. The only outside activities I'm doing are going to physical therapy twice a week. And so that's kind of where, that's how the channel started, really. It was just kind of hopped up on pain meds, and I thought it was a good idea. So here,
There's a lot of worse. A lot of worse things that you could have said with that. And
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm glad it went this route instead
yes,
of the route.
yeah, instead of like, here, hold this beer and watch this.
Yeah, for sure. As far as things that are coming up on the channel, I think that was the second part of Sparky's question.
Yes.
I think it's just kind of natural progress of as I'm trying to figure things out. I'm in the process right now. Let me get seasick for you guys again. Trying to figure out this little scene or what is gonna appear right up here in this area. So I think this building kit is probably gonna sit right here. I gotta cut out some of the foam. But once I do that, then I can start to work on some of the scenery pieces around here. This is going to be a road, and so I got to figure out how to do that well. But it's getting there. It's that's kind of the main thing that I'm trying to wrap my brain around right now. So hopefully there's going to be some updates for that in the next update video.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I think that this layout is it may be small and what you'd like to expand upon, but I think it's just the right size. And I think everything that you're doing, I think everything that you're doing on it is like spot on. I mean, really, it is just, it's just really, it's just exploring everything. And like you said earlier, it's teaching you electrical, basic carpentry work and all that other stuff. And it's taking your time with it and enjoying it and savoring it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the model Rella wants to know? What's the name of the channel, Sean? Your channel?
The Midland and Dorchester Railroad.
Okay.
Is called the N Scale Midland and Dorchester Railroad.
Just You Are Naked has asked a bit of an off the trail question. He wants to know, can you go into a brief details about your musical career, like what type of music or genre and the instruments that you play?
Sure. Yeah. So when I was 12, 10, 11, 12, I picked up the drums. I self-taught with the drums. My parents very generously purchased me a secondhand drum kit.
Oh, they were brave.
They were very brave. I think they might have regretted it right off the bat. But they stuck with me and fostered that creativity in me. So all throughout middle school and high school, I was on, in concert band in the percussion section. I was on the drum line all throughout high school, played snare and bass. And then probably my sophomore year of high school, I picked up a guitar and taught myself how to play guitar. And so those are the two primary instruments that I know how to play. Any guitar player will tell you that they know how to play the bass just because they know how to play the guitar. So I cheat when I say I know how to play the bass as well. And learning how to play the bass, even though there's less strings, there's still a complication that comes along with that. And being a drummer, because most of the time drums and bass are synonymous, that's helped me in that regard too, because I think like a drummer because that's my natural first instrument. And so those are the three primary ones. I've sang in bands before and done that whole thing. I was in a band right out of college. And we toured around Florida and played, shows all up and down the east coast of Florida and stuff. And that was kind of like a pop punk rock type of stuff. My musical, expertise is not, not huge. But I love all types of music. There's no type of music that I won't listen to. So that's kind of a little bit about my musical background, if you will.
Okay. And Jason Bosch says, who isn't self-taught on drums at 12 years old? Makes sense.
I don't know.
Human City Junction wants to know, is hot dog a sandwich? No, it is not, brother. I can answer that emphatically. It is not. It is not.
You guys got any special types of hot dogs that they do out in New York? Like
well,
out here in Seattle, we have like a Seattle dog, which is ketchup, and they actually put cream cheese on it.
oh,
It sounds gross. It sounds gross. Don't knock it until you try it, Bill.
Well, in order to appreciate a good New York City hot dog, we have some of the good hot dog places. But if you want to get a genuine New York City hot dog, you have to get it off the vendor on the street on the cart. Mm-hmm. Now, it's particular to know that criteria is important here. If you cannot see the hot dog in the water, if you can see the hot dog in the water, it's clear, stay away from that guy.
Right.
He's probably adhering to all the Board of Health rules. It's clean, wiped down. The guy you want is the dirty water. We would refer to here lovingly as the dirty water dog. Basically, you can't see the hot dog in the water.
Right.
It would help if the guy who's giving you the hot dog had some sort of form of leprosy, because that makes the hot dog even taste more. And if he has dirty fingernails, then you are in the right spot, and that is the best of the best. And you have the hot dog with mustard, and then red onions, and then sauerkraut, and you have to top it off with a cream soda.
All right.
You are in heaven.
All right, I come out to New York City, and you'll take me to get a hot dog.
Me and Heath lives in Upper Manhattan. He's Upper West Side. So when you come to New York City, me and Heath will give you the whole 65 cents tour. We'll take you to 59 Mott Street.
Awesome.
Chinatown, we go down the stairs under the basement. The Chinese waiter, he throws the silverware on the table and he yells at you.
I love it.
Best Chinese food you ever had in your life.
Awesome.
Ralph Renzetti says, Bill, did he say ketchup? Yes, he did, Ralph. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. What kind of an American puts ketchup on a hot dog? What is the going rate for a loaded dirty dog and beverage these days? I don't know. You'd have to get a bank loan. I know we have Nathan's, famous Nathan's down in Coney Island. In order to get a hot dog there, you have to take out a small business loan. Yeah, it's expensive, man. It's Nathan's is like, there used to be a guy that worked there. He was a manager. And Stillwell Avenue, the crew room was the end of the line for the transit was right there. Stillwell Avenue was the last stop for 4 lines. The guy from the manager that ran Nathan's, he'd come up and he'd give all the transit workers like free coupons. And even though he gave us free coupons, we wouldn't go and eat there. It's not that we didn't like it. It's just that everybody would assume because you're in Coney Island, you're going to have a Nathan's hot dog.
Right. Well, and you can't just go get a hot dog for free. You have to then buy a drink and
exactly.
Yeah. I get it.
And stuff like that. Human City Junction, he says, I only got 10 cents to give for the tour. That's all right. I'll kick in the rest of the 55 cents. Wo Hop Hat's the name of the place in Chinatown, Bill. That's right. That's right, Brian W. Brian W. lives in Jersey. He says, Wo Hop, that's right. Used to make that run at 3 o'clock in the morning when we were working on the Manhattan Bridge. Yep, know it well. Yep. $2. Street dogs are $2 now. Yep. Ketchup should not be on a hot dog if you are older than 8 years old. Ralph Renzetti. Thank you, Ralph. Let's see. Any more? Forget hot dogs. Go for pizza. MO Junction. Yeah, pizza. You gotta have pizza here in New York, Sean. When we come, we'll do the whole thing.
We'll do the whole thing. I'll come
Yeah.
over. I'll come over, see your layout. You know,
Yeah, we'll operate. We'll do a little
take
operation.
me out for some food.
Yeah, we'll go. Are
We'll
you?
do
Are you? Do you have any? Are you a vegetarian by? No. So we can eat dead flesh things, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good. Okay. Good. Because yeah, Human City Junction did put the link up for Sean's show. Yeah, we can't see yours, Sparky, so we don't know if you did or not. What was the other? Yeah, we could do. Thanks, John. I just got it. I saw it come in. Yeah, West Coast and East Coast. We'd have like a major like pizza battle. But you're not originally from the West Coast, so you're kind of like a transplanted East Coast guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that was nice about growing up in Florida. Is Florida very much is kind of a melting pot of the entire world. You know, we were just outside of Orlando, and so I mean, everybody comes and goes to Disney World and Universal Studios and SeaWorld and stuff. And so, like, all of my jobs growing up in Florida have always been around, you know, different cultures and different ethnicities. And so, like, I picked up on a lot of different things regarding, you know, food or, you know, whatever. And so, yeah.
Did you ever have a knish?
I don't think that I have.
Well, we got to get a knish with mustard on it, golden mustard from MR2, MROD2. Thank you, MROD2. A knish and an egg cream. You ever have an egg cream? Brother, you haven't lived.
All right.
Make you and the wife start making plans. Put the pennies away.
Okay.
Away, save up. Once they free up the travel restrictions, you know.
Yeah, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. There's, you know, a couple months ago we've been keeping track of airline, you know, prices and whatnot. And there was like a 1 week period where round trip tickets to New York City from Seattle were like $200. and you know, it was of course towards the end of this year, and we are like, I don't know if that's going to be safe or not, or what everything is going to look like.
That's right. I think you made the right call. They will come around again. They will come around.
But still, $200 though, that's unheard of.
That's you're exactly right. $200. You're exactly right. You know, but yeah, we have to get your. If someone could put up Sean's YouTube channel in the chat thing, so you guys could. The Closet Branch says Human City did. It's up there in there. Check it out. Closet Branch says, I'd like to say good evening to everybody. Well, good evening to you, Closet Branch. Who were one of the influences on when you started looking at YouTube channels? Who were the influences?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So I think I would be remiss to say, as a model railroader, just as a hobbyist in general, that Luke Towan for sure is by far.
Absolutely.
So I watch and subscribe to him. Ron's Trains and Things. He's an N-scaler, so you know I enjoy watching his stuff. Steve Brown over It's My Railroad, and I watch him too. You know, I think although I would say those guys are on the forefront of YouTube and model railroading and things of that nature, some of my favorites though are guys who only have, you know, 100 subscribers that I've stumbled upon their channel because YouTube has, you know, thrown them in front of me or whatever with their algorithms. And I think that that's the beauty of this type of platform is you get exposed to different ideas and different thinking and different ways of doing model railroading that you wouldn't necessarily have come in contact with unless you were just focused on certain people.
Right, you're exactly right. Yeah, I agree with you. Luke Towan is absolutely one of my favorites. Did you recently see the bridge he did?
Yeah, it's an incredible,
the
incredible.
the patience to make the cobblestones, to make the brick
Yeah,
abutments is like
for sure.
exactly. So you're like,
Dude, I mean, with where my layout is at, that would take me months just to complete that project because I
right.
would analyze every
Yeah.
way.
It's amazing how he did it when he cut the foam.
Uh-huh.
He would lay it down. He actually put the 45 in the little tiny, he put the 45-degree angle so that it would seamlessly go together and stack.
He's the master.
And he staggered the line, the mason line, so it didn't, wasn't all uniform. And that's what masons do,
For sure.
and stuff like
Yeah.
Okay, we got your YouTube channel up on the screen here. So you guys out there, please go and subscribe to Sean. Let's boost his subscription rate up, and definitely check out his channel and everything. It's pretty. So who else was a big influence? Who do you regularly?
Like watch on YouTube or just in general as far as
in general, and who you watch and
So I think in general, I'm a big fan of George Chelios's layout. I think as all of us are.
yeah.
Chris Brimley, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yes.
And Scaler. His layout is incredible. He has, I think it's called the Hudson Terminal.
Yes.
And so he's a fantastic modeler as well, especially one who does such detailed work in N scale. I gravitate towards that. I think for me personally, like the guys who really take the time to try and make it as best as they can. I find myself wanting to replicate that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there's like 5 particular people that I gravitate towards. I think there's just a whole gambit of people that I take like bits and pieces from.
Sure.
But I think those 5 guys would probably be the ones that I would say that I watch the most or have learned from the most.
Yeah, it's with like again today, it's funny. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, just for an example, and don't send me emails or anything, but like flat earthers, those that believe in the flat earth theory, 25, 30 years ago, you really never, if you ever ran into somebody like that, you'd be like, what are you?
Right.
With the proliferation of YouTube, it is like boom, now everybody is like, so
right.
With YouTube, it's like, it really has, from everything, from politics to space exploration, it's like everybody's got a YouTube channel and everybody's got something. But here alone, I mean, I do I don't, to be quite honest with you, I don't do the heavy lifting. Indian Head Valley Railroad, he's the go-to guy. Wilma, he's my go-to guy because I follow his and I check on it to see who he's got and who's interesting, and I usually get some of the some of the insight and some of the leads that I get from him. But there's just so many. Sometimes I spend the whole evening till like 3, 4 in the morning looking. Sure.
Yeah, I follow Wilmer as well. He's a fantastic modeler.
He is a very nice man too, as well, and he's doing pretty good. Let's do Sean, join me in doing a shameless plug for Sparky 107. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. So would you say one of the influences that has been on your radar has been Sparky 107, 107.
For sure, absolutely. I've been subscribed to Sparky for a while, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's always one to actually even comment on my videos and
Yeah,
give
well, there you go then.
fantastic gentleman.
Yes. So, Sparky, you can send the check to P.O. Box.
My
Okay.
PayPal is
PayPal account is Sparky says here, when it comes to videos and ideas, there is no scale really, not one you're watching. Well, yes, to a certain degree. I mean, we can all take, the whole thing of N scale, like, hey, did you see this thing in HL? Oh, no, I'm an O scale.
for sure.
What's that about? You're an O scaler. You're a model railroader.
For sure. You can learn from anything.
Exactly. I got O scale stuff on here. My weeds and stuff are O scale, stuff, and N scale stuff to give depth and stuff like that. So, model railroading.
For sure. I think if you can't enjoy, video production or even going to shows where you're not looking and taking in everything, then if you're just focusing on just the one thing that you have, then it's
Yeah,
like
you
you're
kind of get you kind of get a little myopic. You look at the thing and you don't see the whole. And sometimes there are other things out there that are, and stuff. I enjoy all sorts of model railroading videos, regardless of what. It's another good thing, and I recommend this. And I'm not just saying for me, but I watch the guys that do battlefield dioramas and tanks and airplanes. Watching them, I am by far trying to get them to come on this show, and it is so hard because if I reach out, it's either they're way too busy or they don't answer my emails. But just the fact of how they model and they put I compare them to the Ralph Renzetti. Ralph, if you ever get a chance, check Ralph Renzetti out. His weathering techniques are off the chart. They're off the hook. But these guys, when they do the thing, man, you're like, how did you make that look?
right.
Hey, there's a guy in Japan, there's a Japanese modeler who does seafaring models of battles during World War II. He actually makes like the big, the poured water, and he has them exploding underwater with the cotton and the filament light in it. And it's like, and I watched this guy, he's from Germany, Plasmo. And these guys are just genius. I mean, I think
and there's so much that you can learn from that and apply to, like, we might not be creating explosions, but there might be an element of that you could tap into a smokestack or learning layers of scenery grass and things of that nature. So yeah, I get it. I like watching everything.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. The Closet Branch had to leave. You take care. Thanks, Bill. Shameless plug is well appreciated. Well, you're quite welcome, Sparky. We had fun doing it. War Gaming Dioramas, I subbed to a bunch of those. Human City Junction says Heath. Yeah, it's just so much fun, and it's just so much. It's just such a good thing, such a great hobby. Let me just, before we finish here, let me ask you this question. I have two questions. What is the worst thing in the hobby you hate doing?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know. Honestly, okay, here's my answer. Setting up my airbrush is probably my least favorite thing. Like, there's this particular building right back here. It was sitting on my layout just with like gray primer for months. Partly because I wanted to take care of some other things before I got to that project. I started it a little premature, but And there's also part of me that was just like, just like having to get out the airbrush and set up the whole system. Like I have a portable booth, and I think that's by far the worst part for me.
Is cleaning it and setting it up.
Yeah, more the cleaning on the end of it, you know. It's like because it has to be done a certain way, and if you don't do it a certain way, then you know.
What's the best part of model railroading that you like?
It's the one aspect of my life that I have 100% control over.
Very good answer. Very good answer. Sean, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. We greatly appreciate it. It was an honor to talk to you and to get into your channel. Midland and Dorchester. What's the name of the railroad again?
Hale, Midland, and Dorchester.
Midland and Dorchester. Please, guys out there, subscribe. Hit it up. Hit it up. Hit it up. I just want to send my apologies out to the singer, Rod Stewart. We were supposed to have him on tonight, but unfortunately we ran out of time. And also to Nassau Space Station. They were going to do the N-scale Dakota drop-in and zero gravity, but for some reason, once again, we're having some sort of a communication mix-up with those guys. And we can seem to put a man on the moon, but we can't seem to get a video feed over here to Model Railroading Live. With that said, again, our apologies to Rod Stewart. He was supposed to be on for a few minutes to talk about his layout, but we don't have any more time. We were talking to Sean tonight on his Midland and Dorchester layout, and it's an N scale, and you guys should go check him out. We want to thank you guys from Model Railroading Live. Don't forget this Saturday, tune in to the Railroad Empire, How We Are Building Them, July 11, 2020 at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They'll be doing scenery, terrain, styrofoam, plastic cloth, and anything else that has to deal with scenery stuff. So join in on them. And because it's the summertime, Johnny's Train Talk Show will be on July 16th. So mosey on down to the general store there with John and the rest of the crew and pull up a chair, grab a soda pop out of the cooler, and sit down and enjoy. In the meantime, you guys out there, stay safe, be well, and most of all, be blessed. Thank you again, Sean, for being on the show. It was an honor, a true honor to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Very nice layout, very good. We're going to check in with you from time to time to see how your progress is going and what you're into. So with that said, John, thank you very much for being the director, producer. Without you, I'd be talking into thin air. And to the guys out there watching, thank you for being a part of this and participating. You take care. God bless, and we'll see you guys on the radio.